3. You can put 2. Doesn't matter. See what interaction you will get. Still in 2 balls, you can create that rotation. You still interact. It depends on the mixture of GANs. You have to understand what mixture you put where, in the center or outside.
Herman, we have a question in the chat from Jay, who's he says, I was thinking about the field strengths and making a reactor or a craft that I could control with my mind. I'm stuck on a question though. If I make the GANs and put all the parts together myself, what would happen if all the parts I used were made by one person other than me? When I achieved lift and was in the sky, would the other person have any power over my craft more than me, since their fields are also a part of my creation, maybe even more than mine, since I only made the GANs?
Nothing is more than your creation, first of all. Second of all, you have to understand, you put your blood right, your amino acid, right in the middle of the core. Mixture with the GANs. 1 drop is more than enough to carry the information.
That was the comment from Nick M, who said, I think as long as only your amino acid is in the center ball, you are in control.
Correct. That's why we're encouraging everybody to make their own, reactors.
Right. So Jay says that's what he was worried about, and so that's a good answer, I think, for that.
In plasma technology, there is no worries. If you made a mistake, you correct it.
Right. Okay, that's a good attitude there. Okay, do we have some more?
Transfer, Rick, it's nothing else, nothing more. Like a neutron.
It's all about the field transfer.
Neutron sits in the middle. This is your proton. This is your electron. Your principal matter, transition, and matter. Actually, the electron goes just exactly that I draw it because it's not going circle fully.
Yeah, I guess the electrons have the same problem as humans do with fingers on trying to manipulate in space. It's never exact. There's always fields and forces involved that are pushing and pulling in all directions.
Yes. Any more questions? We covered everything. Where to buy it? Only one thing we covered, and we need to cover, that everybody needs to test. To you to see it. Otherwise, I will explain every day, 10 hours a day, but if you don't do it, you're not going to understand it. If you don't understand it, you're not going to carry the knowledge with you.
I have one more question, Armin. You know, in the center, when you drop, yes, you drop wires in the center of your ball. Are you connected to the bottom of your maggrab or at the top?
One more time, I couldn't understand which cores you're talking about.
Okay, the center core, Caroline core, you drop wires that goes into the tube and goes inside your first ball, right? To collect the power from the center.
No.
Didn't you put a wire that goes down?
No. No. Where you seen that?
I saw in your first time you there was a motors and then and I think I was in the blueprint or something like that. That you were showing the first one that there was a electrode or an anode that goes inside the balls.
No, this was the one I showed the last workshop.
Yeah, I believe it was the old blueprint of Mr. Kesh. There was like a lead that goes inside.
I really cannot remember that blueprint.
So you're saying there's no lead that goes there. It's just it's remote. The power gets remote
Yeah,
transfer.
definitely. If
Okay.
you rotate this, it rotates the other one,
Mm-hmm.
rotates the other one.
And what's the purpose of the cylinder that goes inside the first ball? Does it go inside the first ball, or it goes inside the 3 balls?
What cylinder?
Well, on the top, you draw like a draw or you know.
Yeah, this is where the motor sits here.
Yeah, but if you don't have a motors,
Yes,
you use the field, different field to spin the field, right? So you don't need the motor, right?
Okay. For now, we show the way we show it. So
Yeah.
motor sits right here.
Uh-huh.
You rotate this one, and
Mhm.
rest is rotating.
Sorry, could you say that again, Armin? You broke up there.
I said you have your motor. You need to start a motion in your plasma, correct?
Mm-hmm.
No, still it's rotating. We can see it. So when you rotate this, they all interact.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the question?
So the question was, the tubes is only to hold the motor to spin the wheels. It has no other signification or no other use, right?
No.
So in other words, if I use the field to spin and I don't use the motor.
You know, old times when the wizards have a, you know, a stick and they rotate and they bring their emotions into the play. So you can see, oh, there's a cup appeared on a table, or there's a sphere, or there's any object appeared. You know, in that matter, what you're saying, yes, if you have a stick, you can transfer your emotion to physicality.
Mm-hmm. So
it's
in
the
other words,
same
so
what you're doing here.
So the stick would be only to hold the balls upward, right?
Correct.
Basically.
Yes.
Okay. So it has no other meaning or use, just to hold the balls, right?
If you can rotate the plasma with your emotions, so
right. So you don't need the
there
motors.
You go.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
So that's what we should. This is the way that we should go.
No, we should go step by step.
Yeah, sure. That's what we're trying to achieve,
Oh,
my friend.
it's not you. There are 7 billion behind you.
Yeah, I know. We always want to be the first, aren't we?
Come on. That's not going to make any difference.
No, I know.
What would happen, do you think, Francois, if you went all the way, so to speak, with
the McGrath?
What if you went directly to pure fields, essentially? What would you end up with, you think?
I believe I'll end up with the power of the universe. Because if we get the strength from the main source, well, how much stronger can you get?
You already have a power of universe in you.
Yeah, if you achieve
to show how you can open up.
Yeah, it depends if you can.
You do it first, I do it first, or he do it first has no meaning at all.
It depends on the charge. It will adapt to the charge.
How many?
Good morning.
You will get.
Hello, Armin.
Is that Caroline?
Yeah.
Yes, good morning.
Hi.
Morning.
Armin.
Yes.
I think there are a lot of other people who have been building their systems, but they're too shy to show them.
Why? What's the shy in there? It's a good thing to share. Nothing to get shy.
How can we encourage them to come forward faster with them?
Very simple. They have to have a courage to come forward in the fast way.
Okay, Oslo here. Good day. We have something to show, Armin.
Good. Go ahead. That's what we were waiting. Hold it. I was.
But we
Not
don't
sure.
interrupt. We don't interrupt other people's conversation. You know, we're polite in the north of France, of Europe.
We are encouraging people to come forward in
Hello,
short
everybody.
videos and explain their work, please. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Carolina. Thank you. Okay, so we try. Everybody was complaining about the lack of light, so we've tried to improve on it. So here is Torbjörn. Hello.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
I would like to introduce to you my first box. I made some testings and it's very important to do as Armin said, to build and then discover, because if everything is going to be theory, then you will never find anything out, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I started to build a box, and of course, first you have to build the stacker and do some drawings step by step. So in the beginning, I built this box, paying most attention to this side of the box, of course, because that's where most of the action is going to happen. In the center of the coils, you have what I call the heart. It really looks like a heart. I'm building a new one now, stronger and a bit bigger and transparent, because as I made the heart, if the double core is not transparent, then it's hard to see if the inner core is really in the center, and if the inner core is really in the center, you get a better flow. I think I have it's hard to see, but I think I have a leakage that appeared. You know, I didn't really realize how important the heart is. So of course, that's, if you take up the heart of a person, the person will die very quickly. I made some space here to preview the two bottles that are with liquid plasma. This is the gravity field. It's liquid plasma, lead based, and this is CO2, CH3, and of course CO, liquid plasma. That's I made a little lead belt here in order not to mix up the bottles, because in the liquid plasma state they look very much alike. When you're doing your connections, you have to preview everything from the heart. There is a hole here in the wall, the wooden wall, so that the connections to the gravity and magnetic field in the torsion field heart can be connected to the gravity and the magnetic field on superconductor, our coils. And there is a second connection to the gravity and magnetic field on the coils, to the load side and the battery, the motor, the load side and the motor. These are, all of it, the three of them are connected to the batteries. So I've been trying several voltage just to see the reaction for the spin of the motor. And so it's all working like it should. And what you get is first you hear when you start it, you hear the voice, the sound of the motor. But after a couple of minutes, it sounds like a creek, waterfall, very beautiful sound. That is actually getting stronger and stronger. And when this happens, you will feel a very, very heavy connection to the heart. And that's just the beginning. Then when you have this grip in the heart, you start to feel a broader action to the whole body. And it's to the extent that it feels like somebody's touching you. I had a huge pressure on the nose and then on the brain. And suddenly I was out in space. When I was out in space, that was a big surprise. I didn't expect this to happen. And there was this blue sky, dark blue, with all the stars, and the distance between the stars were getting closer and closer. And that's where I realized what kind of energy this is. And one of the words that you can describe it with is infinite power. There is no measure for that kind of power, not in the human scale. And I was sitting and holding the motor during the first test to see where from the motor side I would have less friction to the heart. And at the same time, I had a lamp on the load side. So it was all very practical. And I felt that that's all I can do for the testing. But when you start it, you realize that this is not a game. This is really serious, huge energies, and you get to be part of the universe in a very literal sense. And I remember I could see myself getting smaller and smaller, very, very fast. The body disappeared, and because of the speed in which I was leaving the planet, and then the planet disappeared as well. It got first I got smaller, and then the whole planet got smaller, and I was just part of the universe. But I did see that the stars, the distance between the stars were getting tinier, small. They were approaching each other, and then I gained some more conscious of what I was actually doing. I guess it was because Monique was passing by back and forth behind me, and that's when I looked at the box, the double core, and I could actually see all the what we call the charge in the distillate water, liquid plasma. I could see all of them. I could see the amino acids. I could see the CH2, CO3. I could see them all. They were working in a very funny way. They were visiting the stations. It was like stations here. I guess it came from the heart and then to the bottles, and then the connections here from the heart and through the DC and up here, and then it visited outside, and then it get to the motor, and then it start again. So I could see in a kind of a physical way the energies, and I could recognize them. I realized, for example, that the amino acid has consciousness, all of them, and it's like molecules or and atoms, and you can see them working in the fields. So they're all fields here, and I realized it's a communication box. They're all communicating. It's not simple to understand, because the way they are communicating is the energy. So you have to be very precise what you want. If you want energy, then you have to be precise what kind of energy, because the charge here is energy, and it's working through communication. And of course, I don't think I got up to the correct spin, and since I made the heart finished, I couldn't see how perfect it should be. Perfect only means that when you're doing your constructions, try to do the most precise step-by-step approach, so that you have an idea of where you're going from here. Now, I found out that if you have a triple core on each, a triple connection on each field, then you make it simple for yourself. This is how you can get the energy out of the clockwise and anti-clockwise spins from the water molecules. And I had a bigger motor, so it's going to be very simple.
Can I ask a question? What you load in the middle of your core?
Sorry?
Your middle core. What you load? What kind of GANs you load? In the stacker, there is
in this unit, I made I asked Monique to gather 40 different food gases in liquid plasma state. And I added some CO2 to it because the liquid was a bit fat, a bit slimy, and it had a reaction at once. It suddenly became very liquid, and so it's a good idea to because even if it's hard to understand, the amino acids from every food gas is going to be your soldiers. They're going to work on your side. They're going to ask you questions. What do you want? And I think the human race has to prepare themselves to get the correct answers. And I don't think anybody will get this far if they have bad intentions. One should be very humble, especially when they get to see the power of these energies, because it is literally the energies from the universe, and there is no measure. There is no idea of DC or AC or any kind of energies. It's serious stuff, but it's beautiful and it's very, very intelligent.
Thank you very much. You know, we have a lot of people, maybe they want to show their, creations, but this is very beautiful, what you've done. But remember one thing, you don't need to have a bigger balls, you need to have a bigger mass. So if you understand, your balls can be smaller, but still what you load in it, that's the most important thing.
Oh yes, of course. The reason I didn't, I got kind of lucky because this ball is absolutely not for plasma energy builders. It's the only ball I found that was that I could link into this technology. It's
oh, great. So you're gluing those together?
Sorry, I didn't hear.
You can glue those together?
Oh yeah, it's very simple, and as long as you have the center all the time.
Where you got those balls?
Well, this one is a disco ball.
Public will be interested, so I just asked the question. Yeah, I know what that ball means. That's what you call LED light.
Yes.
For the outside. Okay.
And this one is
Candle making shape.
Candle making shapes.
Oh,
so
okay.
you make candles and create your own candles.
Okay.
That's
Thank you.
what I'm
That's very beautiful. That's what we want. That the people, they build their own reactors, they create their own fields, whatever it makes them happy. So this is most important.
This is
Rick, what is it?
This is a pen,
but
it fits. And a good advice is that every time you make your connections, you make sure it's waterproof.
What do you mean waterproof?
Well, I added some water up here, liquid plasma, and you get to press between the plastics, so you don't have a leakage from the beginning.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. It's a lot of work. You can call me sometimes. I can direct you a few things that you can make changes on your stacker. You don't need to rotate with the motor anyway. But you're welcome. You can contact me on Zoom.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very
Hey,
much.
brother T, I got a quick question for you. You said at the very beginning, I didn't want to interrupt you, that you had a leakage. Was it a liquid leakage or was it a field leakage?
Yeah, what happened was that the sound of the creek were getting less and less, and so I took up I demounted the tools, you know, the wooden tools, and I realized that I could fill up more, and since there were nowhere, I kind of hesitated because when I was filling it up, I spoiled some liquid plasma and GANs combinations. Looks like this, you know. It's this is a mixture of 15, at least 15, 30, 40 different ganses, fruit ganses, and it got quite messy here. And I was thinking, this is the stage where this is the level which is underneath the core, the core. And so I didn't know if it was the heart that was leaking or the spoiling, but it dried out. So I guess I have a leakage, but it's very little, kind of a few drops, and that's enough to replace the liquid plasma with and the gases with the oxygen. And when that happens, you don't get the fields that you want. So in order not to play with oxygen in the bottles, you have to fill them up to the top, and that's going to get out the air molecules. And yeah, that's what's also interesting is that during the I think it was the second or the third test, you had tiny bubbles in the bottles, like a nano reaction from the heart and from the liquid plasmas.
Yeah, I've seen these bubbles too in some of the stuff I'm doing. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's alive. Or at some stages it gets organic, and when it comes to see the energies and how it's working in a flow, so to speak, when you get to see all the different combinations that you're working with,
Jordan,
yes.
can I ask you, would you have the feeling that these bubbles are energy bubbles or packages?
Oh, the bubbles are when you connect the gravity and the magnetic field in the bottles, you have to kind of put the lock on the right side so that you can close it afterwards. But it's the oxygen is getting from the top of the lock to the level of liquid plasma, and that's where you can see the reaction from the scum, the small bubbles. But it goes away. Well, after when the more you charge it in a way with DC, it disappears.
Are you only using gases of food?
No, I also you know, after because the outer core it's CH3, and the inner core, I used all the food gases, and I repeated with small drops zinc, copper, and iron-based liquid plasma. But it was in order to, you know, especially zinc-based liquid plasma, because it got a bit. I was afraid it was going to turn out to glue, you know. But it worked very well. If people gather all the food gases, then you just put some zinc-based liquid plasma into it, and it will have a very fast reaction to clear up the liquid. It's working very fast, and you don't need much zinc-based.
What do you mean by clearing up?
Well, the liquid gets like water suddenly. You get rid of the gluish, because one of the liquid plasmas is from the food is the sour soap, and the sour soap gets very gluish. It's transparent glue, and it smells not that good. But when you put some zinc-based liquid plasma into it, it has an immediate reaction, and it gets like metal liquid plasma, and that's, you know, it's better for the flow, because the food gases do have a tendency to get very thick, like liquid glue.
Is it possible to video close up how your liquids are changing and how they're rotating?
Of course. When I was thinking to, you know, I built this very fast. I used 1 week and 1 day to finish this one. But this one, I was thinking that every time since I'm working very fast, it's important to make films so that people can see all the steps, because next step now, you know, this is extremely important, the way you get to the fields without disturbing the mechanical parts, that you get the spins and everything. Then this combination, to see the gravity field and the magnetic field, and how you get in there without having any leakage, you know, that's extremely important. And when it's transparent, you get to when it's transparent, you get to see how you can create literature in your own universe. This is going to be completely in the center. And one of the reasons why this is important is because of the flow on the outside, but at the same time, tiny to use nano-coated coppers that are working for you, but at the same time it's going to take up very little space. And it's the same thing here with the inner core. To get to the inner core first, and then the second
Are you using any sugar in your combinations?
I use Arabic gum. It's called. That's the kind of sugar I use. Only this sugar. It's cocktail sugar. But that's
Don't put too much.
Sorry?
You will get drunk. Don't put too much. You will get drunk.
There is no alcohol in.
No, Harlan is not alcohol based,
I know.
but you still will get drunk.
But you have the sugar. That's what you need.
Oh, but you know,
don't need alcohol.
Since I didn't expect any space traveling, I was a bit shocked. You know, I used 20 minutes to sit down, and I had a literary feeling that I've been out traveling, and it's like 10 times successful meditation, so to speak, because you have no control when you're I had an interesting question last night, if there wasn't a time gap, and it's very hard to answer because it happened so quickly. I think the view was a couple of seconds, and but I didn't have two consciousness. I had one up in space and one here, and they were not mixed. So I don't know how to put the experience in time.
You mean your presence in both of them?
Yes, I was, when I was up there, I was only up there, only. And then when I came back, I realized I was back. And that was the big surprise
You just said your wife disturbed you so that you came back.
No, she didn't disturb me. It was just that she didn't.
You don't have to disturb her. Appearance is disturbed. How about that?
No. When they're coming too close, your fields are aware of it. It's a natural barrier. It's like when you're sleeping and somebody walks into your room, you wake up. You're aware. It's your awareness.
Exactly. Thank you, Carolina. That's exactly what I realized. But since I didn't expect any of this, that was the shock. And then I realized I have to prepare. I wasn't prepared for that kind of information. Not at all, because I was sitting there working with my connections, you know, and then suddenly for example, the 20 minutes when I sat down and I was, you know, trying to ground myself, I realized that I had a new energy that I can't explain. I don't know what it is, but it was the whole body. I could feel underneath my feet and above my head, a completely new energy that I've never felt before. I don't know if it's positive or negative, and I don't really care. It felt like that if you enter to the world with a new battery, and the whole world is going to ask, "What is it for?" Then I don't have the answer. I don't know what it's for, but it's new. It's completely new. So I had this repeating word over and over again, new. You know, it was new. And it's not positive and it's not negative. It's just.
What did you learn from this experience as a message?
Well, as a great number one, I would say the feeling of being humble, you know, because I realize that our small stories on this planet are very close to worthless, really.
Can you repeat again, please?
This, our stories, the way we are feeling our stories, the way we believe in it, the way we are filling out our stories are very close to worthless compared to the universe, where everything is harmony. Everything there is no everything communicates, and during this communication, it's a dance, a harmony that you're part of, that has nothing to do with your stories. They're just not there anymore. Not one of your stories. Who you are, where you come from, and so you're just part of something that is so big and powerful, and it's communication. It's all communicating, and you know, as soon as it starts to grab your heart, you get a bit. It's, you have to take care of yourself. Breathe. Don't forget to breathe, because it's blowing your mind. It's such a hard. I guess the superconductors are throwing out the energy, and then you get as a secondary effect. I guess you can see whatever you want, and the reason why I'm saying that this is when all this vacuum is communicating and you're part of it, then I understand. I would understand that people have to prepare themselves, because it's really far from what we think is news.
Or imagination.
Yes.
It doesn't come close to it, does it?
No. It's like we're a species that doesn't understand this communication, and so we have measure sticks like this is power, this is DC, this is AC, you know, which is crap. It doesn't mean anything.
So how can you prepare yourself better to go into this, or in this state? How would you advise people, because you've been there?
Yes, I hope that as many people as possible are going to build their devices, and it doesn't and have their own experience, because if the bad people in this world have frustration or anger or anything, if they get close to this energy, they're completely changed. It's like a WOW, you know. It's mind-blowing.
What would you say they're going to change? How would it affect them?
Well, since it's so clear that there is no conflict, when you can see how these small particles are communicating, the way they're communicating is like a symphony. There is no misunderstanding. No wonder we call it a flow. It is.
Yes, but you say that if they're going in non-prepared, as you did, you keep on saying, I will be better prepared next time.
Yes.
And then you compare it to when people are out of balance. There is no right, there is no wrong. But if they're out of balance, you say it affects them so fast. And this is exactly what Mr. Kesh was teaching in his last teachings.